the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to move on to chapter 3. This is the chapter on karma yoga, the yoga of action. Now, format's going to be the same as usual. I'm going to have word for word translations from Sanskrit to English, and then underneath that, the smooth English translations, all on screen directly from this book. And I'm going to go through each shloka, and as I do, I'm going to give you my interpretation, my insight into that shloka in particular, or shlokas that I've passed without saying anything. So, without further ado, let's talk about action really quickly. In the Bhagavad Gita, what is emphasized in chapter 2 about action? If you notice, Shri Krishna always lays out the dualities, and he says, be free from all dualities, good and bad, be in the middle, true yoga, the cessation of all modes, all sides of any vector is eliminated and put directly in the origin of all things. What does he emphasize? What is exactly right action? It is your dharma, your duty, your job, and that you do it to perfection, that merit is never lost, that people ought to do what they are born and made to do with absolute precision and absolute skill. Sri Krishna never in this book ever says that you should be lacking in skills. You should build your skills. You should be great at these things that you're made to do. We are here to actually go down our path and be skillful. Sri Krishna always will emphasize that. It is not just about doing the practices that, your mantra japa or your pujas or your havans, whatever you do, those are fine. Those are also a part of dharma in its own way, but not to accrue goodness and blessings that will be used for other things transactionally. That there is something beyond that transaction. That work done to perfection is verily yoga. Never forget that. Always be skillful. All right, let's move on to karma yoga. Chapter 3. Immediately, Arjuna has questions. The denseness, the density of chapter 2 would make anyone question. It is such compact, potent knowledge that you would have to ask questions. And the beautiful thing about Arjuna is that he's willing to ask questions, as everyone should. So Arjuna said, if it is held by you, O Janardana, that knowledge is superior to action, why then do you enjoin on me this terrible action? With these perplexing words, you are, as it were, confusing my comprehension. Tell me with certainty the path by pursuing which I may get at the supreme. Arjuna is amazing. Everybody should be like Arjuna. Directly, the supreme personality of Godhead in front of him in all of his splendor, and says, what do you mean? be more concise. Be more straightforward. What do you mean, my guy? And that is a powerful aspect of Arjuna himself. Everybody looks at Sri Krishna and they're like, yeah, I mean, we all want to adopt the knowledge of Sri Krishna. We want to be like more like Sri Krishna. We want to embody that ability and knowledge that Sri Krishna always has. But look at Arjuna. Maybe we should be more like Arjuna for being so inquisitive, being so straightforward, being able to not just look at authority and just clasp their hands and just say, okay, I'll just do whatever you want. That's not what Arjuna's doing. Arjuna's directly questioning the authority with respect. And that should be perfectly fine within Sanatana Dharma. The Blessed Lord said, the twofold path was given by me, O sinless one, to the world in the beginning, the path of knowledge to the discerning, the path of work to the active. Man gains not actionlessness by abstaining from activity, nor does he rise to perfection by mere renunciation. None can ever remain really actionless even for a moment, for everyone is helplessly driven to action by the gunas, born of Prakriti. The world is here. It is phenomenally existent, and it constantly is moving, which would presuppose that you move as well. All succession within this universe, energy is moving from a packed state to an unpacked state, constant shifting of all of creation. And by that succession and that succession alone, should you move as well. That deluded man is called a hypocrite, who sits controlling the organs of action, but dwelling in his mind on the objects of the senses. Imagine that. Even if you are, just such a still and postured yogi, and you're completely still, it all is wasted when the mind is boggled, when the mind constantly is a storm. Much rather that the body be a storm and the mind be still than anything else. Beautiful. But he excels, O Arjuna, who, restraining the senses of the mind, unattached, directs his organs of action to the path of work. Exactly what I just said. Beautiful. I kind of should have read that first and then said what I said, but it actually worked out. I was kind of thinking the same thing, Shri Krishna. Engage yourself in obligatory work, for action is superior to inaction. And if inaction, even the mere maintenance of your body would not be possible. You kind of got to work out. You got to hit the gym. That's how I read that. That's like Shri Krishna telling you, look, stillness will deteriorate the body. If Shri Krishna, I think this is the perfect line of Shri Krishna telling you to hit the gym. Honestly, what a beautiful line. I mean, it's like telling you right here that if you're just sitting around all day, if the sedentary life is killing you, and we have science to back that up, and of course, Sri Krishna already knows that. The world is bound by actions other than those performed for the sake of yajna. Do therefore, O son of Kunti, earnestly perform action for yajna alone, free from attachment. Having created mankind in the beginning together with yajna, the Prajapati said, by this shall you propagate, this shall be the milch cow of your desires. Cherish the devas with this, and may those devas cherish you. Thus, cherishing one another, you shall reap the supreme good. He's saying the fruits of yajna, pretty much the sacrifices that are made for the gods. Cherished by yajna, the devas shall bestow onto you the enjoyment you desire. A thief verily in he who enjoys what is given by them without returning them anything. There's a transaction. Always, all the time, there's some type of transaction. Everyone thinks that, I'm just getting blessings and I'm doing my havan, I'm doing my puja, and these things are just coming to me. Don't worry. The karmas are at work. The world is constantly moving. There is a cycle of things that needs to happen. And part of that is I'm borrowing something and I must give it back somehow. Everything balances out, even to doing austerity and wanting desires and all these things from different deities and different gods that are out there. The good who eat the remains of yajna are fed from all sins, but the sinful ones who cook food only for themselves, they verily eat sin. He's talking about kind of selfish worship. It's kind of what he's saying. From food beings become, from rain is food produced, from yajna rain proceeds, yajna is born of karma. The succession of all creation. He's laying out the foundation of pretty much nature. No karma to have arisen from the Veda, and the Veda from the imperishable. The all-pervading Veda is therefore ever centered in yajna. The delineation is all connected. Beautiful line of showing that that despite things being connected and distant, it is still connected, and that connection can lead to the supreme. He who does not follow on earth the wheel thus revolving, sinful of life and rejoicing in the senses, he, O Partha, lives in vain. But the man who rejoices in the self is satisfied with the self and is centered in the self. For him, verily, there is no obligatory duty. Oh, beautiful. The idea of the cycle, that things are perpetually gained and lost, and the senses are believing to be gratified by things that are temperamental. And the man who rejoins in the self, that is satisfied within the self, is untemperamental. The thing that will last forever is the self, is the Atma, is the trueness of all creation. That which is unperishable, in which Sri Krishna talks about in chapter 2. This he revisits in chapter 3. But this time comparing it with a sinful life, a life devoted to the senses. For him, there is in this world no object to acquire by doing an action, nor is there any loss by not doing an action, nor has he depend on anybody for anything. Therefore, constantly perform your obligatory duty without attachment, for by doing duty without attachment, man verily obtains the supreme. Such an interesting line. To do something without any reward. It seems very contradictory to how we consume in life. We need some ends to meet. But the trueness of all existence is that, well, this world is temperamental, the earth is temperamental, the sun and the sky will one day go out and it'll all start again. The ultimate attachment to these things is unnecessary. However, I am still here. I am phenomenally birthed in this position in this time to do something. And that is good enough to take action. And that action, with that understanding and that reasoning alone, by performing the dharma that I'm here to do, that phenomenally I am sent here to do, verily obtains the supreme, as Sri Krishna says. Janaka and others indeed achieved perfection by action. Having an eye to the guidance of men, also you should perform action. Whatever a great man does is followed by others. People go by the example he sets up. Sri Krishna talking about leadership. There is not in the three worlds, O Partha, that has not been done by me, nor anything attained that might be attained. Still, I engage in action. Even Sri Krishna saying himself, hey, I'm doing exactly what I'm preaching. If I did not engage in work relentless, O Partha, men would in every respect follow my path. These worlds would perish if I did not do action. I should be the cause of confusion of species, and I should destroy these beings. As the unenlightened act from attachment to action, O Partha, so should the enlightened act without attachment, desirous of the guidance of the multitude. Sri Krishna is talking about leadership, being and setting the example. And that example is so important, not for you and your gain, but really for the succession and the togetherness of all creation, for all society, in more useful and tangible terms. We all rely on our leaders and the people that we look up to follow the rules so that everyone else follows the rules. And that's what kind of keeps us all together. And Sri Krishna is talking about it right here. Before, he was talking about the personal gain, the indulgence in the five senses. Oh, what can I get out of this? No action can ever be thought that way. For the real enlightened one, the one that understands what righteous and true action is never for themselves and their personal gains. It is for an expression of who they truly are, and that expression of who they truly are is actually what supports all of society. Dharma is what supports all of society. Let not the wise man unsettle the mind of ignorant people attached to karma. By doing persistently and precisely, let the wise induce the others in all activity. Beautiful. Another example, leadership. He's talking about leadership. The gunas of Prakriti performed all karma with the understanding clouded by egoism. Man thinks I am the doer. Ah, this is the idea of the ego, the idea of a big ego. You can say that you are doing something, but you are never the doer. But, O mighty armed, the one intuitive into the nature of guna and karma knows that gunas as senses merely abide with gunas as objects and does not become entangled. Those deluded by the gunas of prakriti get attached to the functions of the gunas. The man of the perfect knowledge should not unsettle the mediocre whose knowledge is imperfect. Beautiful. This is an expansion of what Sri Krishna has explained in chapter 2 about saying that the Vedas are talking about the gunas and that one should transcend all three gunas. Uh, the gunas are constantly fluctuating and are a result of the karmic succession. And that is devoid of the true self that Sri Krishna is saying. Chapter 3, Shloka 30. Surrendering all action to me with your thoughts resting on self, freed from hope and selfishness, and cured of mental fever, engage in battle. Again, even in chapter 3, bringing up the duality again. What I was saying earlier in the beginning of the video. Be free from both of these sides. Oh my God. Consistent. Gotta love it. Those who ever abide in this teaching of mine, full of sraddha and free from cavilling, they too are released from actions. But those who carp at my teaching and act not thereon, deluded in all knowledge and devoid of discrimination, know them to be ruined. The consequence of attachment. Even a wise man behaves in conformity with his own nature. Beings follow nature. What shall restraint avail? Again, I was constantly saying the succession of all nature. This is literally that. Attachment and aversion of the senses for their respective objects are natural. Let none come under their domination. They are verily his enemies. One's own dharma, though imperfect, is better than the dharma of another, well discharged. Better death in one's own dharma. The dharma of another is full of fear. You've come into this world, you've come here with a design. And there are other influences out there that will tell you you are not that dharma, that you are something else, that you're beyond those things. And you might even be great at those things. But of one's true nature, of one's true position and belonging within this world is truly that person that follows dharma. And that we will stop right there. We'll stop at chapter 3, Shloka 35. And on the next video, we'll finish chapter 3, which Arjuna will ask another question and we'll go on from there. I mean, this is a beautiful zoom in onto what action is. And it is parsing out exactly what Sri Krishna talks about. And part of the mission of reading the Bhagavad Gita is to make sure that when we are absorbing these texts, these incredible wisdoms, that we are using them in the context of improving our lives. That we're not just passing by this information and believing that just by reading them alone that I can gain the capacity to be a better person. No, there is true. This is a manual for your life, and manuals require you to follow directions, and following directions require what? Action. It's such an advocacy for society and individuals to move, to work. And what you see time and time again is just like, oh, we should be renunciate, we should just meditate, everything should just be at peace, and there should be stillness and all this other stuff. No, quite the opposite in terms of movement, physical movement, stillness in the mind, but movement all the time. Because movement is nature. And as long as we're in this world and we're working here and we're all trying to make something out of this, movement is required. Dharma is required. And let's get to work. This is the Hindu Conceptualist, signing out.